Hello everyone. I've been thinking of writing on Zakir Naik issue for a while, but it just never got a chance to do it. So I thought I'll just do this Periscope and and talk about some of the issues that are going through in my mind, and hopefully have a conversation started. So Zakir Naik is a preacher from India, Islamic preacher, and he came. He's been working in this area for about since 1990s, and really last decade is when he became really prominent, and a lot of people still follow him and watch his videos and attend his programs. And in fact, now he has a bunch of Islamic schools in Bombay, and I think in Bangalore and Chennai as well, a few different locations where he gives modern education and also Islamic education and the English medium. So he's been very active in the scene, and so in 1990s, I mean, you have to look at it in the perspective that Indian government after partition declared Urdu or did everything to undermine Urdu. So a generation grew up not knowing Urdu, and the problem with that was a generation of Indian Muslims, and not know, the problem with that was then they got cut off from the religious education. So the books that have been written for last few hundred years in Urdu explaining Quran and Hadith and the different Islamic teachings, so all of a sudden they were not accessible to the new generation. And also then ulamas who had access to those education, have been part of this tradition for hundreds of years, suddenly they were also got cut off because the language, the terminology they were using was something that was not accessible to the young people. So in that and also in the post-Babri generation, where your Muslim identity became very prominent, and Muslims post-liberalization, when Muslims are going into workplaces and getting all these jobs in different companies and being face to face with different non-Muslims of similar age and different background, similar background maybe. All of a sudden they have to explain Islam because they like, what is Islam, what are different Muslim practices, and they didn't have those words, those terminologies, a modern language to explain what they were doing and why they were doing it. So in that respect, Zakir Naik was that person who provided that language, that terminology in English that people can access, relate to, and explain to others. However, he comes from a tradition like the generation before was Ahmed Didat, which are religious debaters. So professionally, they debate other people of other religion on different topics, and instead of finding common grounds, it's actually a proper debate where you're expected to win. So that's the tradition he comes from, Zakir Naik. So that was his style and continues to be his style. But the problem is that he ran out of people who are ready to debate with him now. Nobody wants to debate because his style is very confrontational. But that was also something that the Muslim youth was looking at that time, to how to be confident about their religion, about their identity, and to communicate that. So his messaging appealed to a lot of people. But if you look carefully on how he debates or frames the debates around it, he's very simplistic, very logical, but also very simplistic, and I will say even pedestrian logic. So for example, the question about why God does this a certain way, or why God sets up day of judgment and all that, he converts that into how a teacher after a year of education, how hello give examination, and then so certain people will fail that examination, certain people will pass that exam. So he communicates that that's the same way God works. So in a way, reducing something very complex, very spiritual, and a bigger philosophical question to something very simplistic. So of course, a lot of people can understand it quickly, but then that's also how he wins his debate, because then he doesn't need to explain the whole complexities of issue and then just reduce it to the common thing. So that's a source of appeal of Zakir Naik. So regarding his contribution to Indian Muslims, so that was the main contribution that he's provided an entity in 1990s and early 2000s. But since then he has, I think, faded because a lot of people were looking for more, and he couldn't do that obviously because he started running it as more of as a business for him because watch his program, watch Peace TV, and then buy his DVDs, I guess. And his schools and stuff like that, and then accessibility of internet also, made all different scholars who come from a strong religious tradition, Hanafis, and in fact even some Devbandi tradition are now on the internet, speaking better English and more spiritual in their approach, and they have become accessible. So in South Africa or from England, Europe, or even America. So all of a sudden, those messaging are becoming accessible. So Zakir Naik, he's as professional doctor, medical doctor, he doesn't come from religious tradition. But to his credit, he is a self-made man, and he is the most recognizable Indian Muslim scholar or leader or preacher, whatever you call him, and recognized internationally. Which is, we have to give him credit for, without a family background, without a religious background, he's able to achieve that just by his labor and working on those issues. But does he support terrorism? There's definitely no evidence of that. I have seen lots of his videos, but I don't see any evidence of that. There was controversial statement. He was trying to explain the word and trying to kind of reclaim that word, which was definitely a problem, and he should not have done that. He's a smart guy, but I don't know why. But anyway, he's still paying the price for that statement that for a criminal, police is a terrorist. But it just there is a certain, especially strong emotion attached to that now, so he should have been careful in his usage. But other than that, there's absolutely no evidence of that anywhere, any of the video, and nobody can come up with that video just because some people have liked his Facebook page or watched his video. Doesn't mean that in any way that he has inspired them, he has to do anything like that. In fact, if he's trying to do that, then he's failing miserably because he has millions of visitors, but millions of likes, millions of followers, but none of them are doing anything subversive as far as I know. So, but the issue is, again, he has given controversial statements, sectarian statements. He has apologized in the past on to Shias and Barelvis on some of the statements that he has given. But other than that, I mean, again, for end of the day, it's a business for him, and he has to run it as a business. So it makes no sense for him to. There's no constituency in India that he's going to gain if he starts preaching hatred, for example. He's not looking to become political, right? So there's no incentive for him to be divisive and then gain a new follower. So I don't think he's trying to do that. So to be fair to him, I think these are the issues. If there are any questions, please send it to me, and then I'll try to answer those. All right, thank you guys for listening.